Maseches Bava Metzia, Daf Pei Amud Aleph, back in our Amud Yomi Shiur. Let's hope another beautiful Amud will be explored by us in the next hour. Welcome to everybody here in Avos Shalom, everybody in Torah Anytime, in our YouTube channel. Yeah, everyday new subscribers. Baruch Hashem. Let's go. Let's just start. But first, we have to say the shiurs. Le'ilu nishmas Avi Moira Menachem ben Akiva. Le'ilu nishmas Rus bas Sholem Sor bas Moshe. Lerefuas Chen bas Lerefuas. Excuse me. Naama bas Rachel Rama. Chaim ben Sete. Lerefuas Nina Chaya bas Giola Rochel. Lea bas Etel Chaya. Aviva Bas Devoira, please daven for her, my aunt. Aviva Bas Devoira, Besoch Shar Choyle Israel. She only lives by davening. Aviva, there's no chance she'd be alive in the past half year. It's only tefillas. Lamalam in the completely. So.
5 years.
Okay. What we're about to see now in Bava Metzia Pei Amud Aleph is one of the most important, fundamental, and extremely central pieces of Gemara in Yiddishkeit. Let's just read it, and then we'll have to do some really good analysis of it. The issue is how much you should love Torah and why was Beis HaMikdash destroyed, not what you've heard before. Says the Gemara in the very bottom of Pei Amud Aleph Bava Metzia. Omar Rav Yehuda Omar Rav. My dichtiv, what does it mean when it says, Mi ha'ish ha'chochom v'yiven esdois, who is the smart man, the wise man, the Oven that can understand it, V'asher diber pi Hashem Elov, and the one that Hashem's mouth spoke to him, v'yagida, and it should tell us, Alma of the Haaretz. Yeah, why was the land destroyed? Yeah, that's a pasuk in Yirmiyahu. Yeah, and the Gemara is going to explain exactly what it means. Continues the Gemara, we're going to Amud Beis. Davar zeh, this thing, which thing we're going to see soon, Davar zeh omru chachamim v'loi pirshuhu, which means the question was, why Alma of the Haaretz? Why is it really that the land was destroyed? Meaning destruction by Rishon, I assume we're talking about Yirmiyahu, and the Chachamim were asked, and they were not mefarish. Yeah, they never explained to us why really was there a destruction. Omo Nevim v'lo pirshu, even the Nevim, the prophets didn't know, couldn't have their commentary, their parish, their explanation. Why did it happen? The Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. Only Hashem Himself knew why Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. And Shenema, as it says, well, why? why was it destroyed? Yomer, he said, Hashem said Himself, Al Ozlam Esterosi Asher Nosati Lifneim. They left behind the Torah. Asher Nosati Lifneihem. There's extra words here. The Torah that I gave them. Well, everybody knows Hashem gave the Torah, not anybody else. Yeah. So Hashem says they left the Torah behind. Yeah, they abandoned it. The Torah that I gave them. Omar Rav Yehuda Omar Rav. What is it exactly that Hashem is pointing at? Shelobirchu b'Torah tchila. They didn't just say Birkas Torah. In other words, so we have a few questions here. There is some kind of hidden reason why Beis HaMikdash was destroyed and nobody knows why. The Chachamim, the greatest sages, don't know. And the Nevim don't know either. It's something very mysterious. Who knows? Only Kadosh Baruch Hu Himself knows. And what's the reason? What's the mysterious reason? When they woke up in the morning, they didn't say Birkas Torah. That's all. And that's why the whole thing was destroyed. That leads to many, many, many questions. Question number one, yeah, from what I've heard, why was Beis HaMikdash destroyed? The first Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, not because of senseless hatred, because of what? Because of the three cardinal sins, the various chamuros, yeah, with the zol, gilurai, shvichas damim, adultery, murder, all that, yeah, adultery. And then what? So all of a sudden, because they didn't say Birkas Torah, really? Just because of missing one part of davening, not so nice to miss that part, but because of that, you destroy Beis HaMikdash? Start a Birkas Torah campaign. And thirdly, if it's such an evident, clear thing that they didn't say Birkas Torah, every even secular detective can figure that out, right? In other words, you just see that people wake up in the morning, they miss one part in the prayer book called Birkas Torah. Well, what's the big mystery that even the Chachamim and Nevim don't know? It's a very clear factual thing here. The answer is as follows. I'm basing myself on the Ran in the Dorim. The same Gemara appears in the Dorim, and the Ran, the Perush of Rabbeinu Nissim over there, explains much more in depth. And I'm basing myself on others' form as well. The issue is like this: when you build a sukkah, when you make tzitzis, do you make a bracha on making the tzitzis? No. You make a bracha on building the sukkah, it's actually a question, but the answer is no. You don't make brachas on preparation for a mitzvah. Yeah? You only make bracha on the mitzvah itself. So first of all, their mistake was they had to say Birkas Torah to show that the Torah is not preparation for another mitzvah. They viewed the learning of the Torah not as the values of its own, but the value of the Torah as, well, I'm a Jew. I have to know how to function as a Jew. So I learn Torah in order to know how to keep halacha. That's a very, very sad mistake. You have to learn halacha. You have to learn halacha, learn Torah for halacha. But that is a very, very distorted idea. Torah is the values of itself, and I can quote you now. We don't have enough time. I can sit here for an hour, yeah, giving you sources and ideas about the fact that Torah is more important than any other mitzvah. The other mitzvahs say we have to keep because we're in Olam Hazeh, we're in a world of physicality. But really, the Torah itself, the learning of the Torah, is way more important than any other mitzvah. Thick books were written about that. Rabbi Chaver and many others, the Gra and all these Talmudim. And therefore, the mistake of the people was as follows. They thought Torah is just the manual. You have to know how to operate the washing machine. You have to learn the manual, that little booklet with 20 languages that tells you how to operate the machine. That's all. That's a very, very tragic mistake. They did not make a bracha showing we don't care. Or maybe even they made the bracha, but they blurted it up while they were having their coffee in order to, they didn't care. They didn't care. The Ran says they may have physically said the bracha, but they didn't have the idea of Birkas Torah. They give what's Birkas Torah? And that's by the way it says Torah asher nosati lifneihem. They did not appreciate the fact that the Torah was given from Hashem. Hashem's best friend is the Torah. Hashem's love is the Torah. He gave it to us. Yeah. In other words, and that's where Rashi explains, nos and lo Torah semes. We have to thank Hashem that gave us the Torah, and they missed on that. Now, you know who did not know that? The Chachamim and the Nevim. How would they know? Because the Chachamim and the Nevim, even if they saw people saying Birkas Torah, they didn't know that very, very nuanced point, it's a very, very small, nuanced kind of point in the heart of the person. They were good learners. And maybe they even said Birkas Torah physically, verbally. But that point in their hearts of not making Torah important enough, it was so much in the depth of the heart, such a small point that only Kodesh Baruch Hu himself knew. Only the one who's boichen libois su yodeh, as Tosa says in the Zohar Chavtes. Only Hashem who tests the heart knows. Yeah, even the rabbi of that generation wouldn't realize that people who sit and learn in Koilel and all they care about is not the Torah per se as of itself, but just as means for something else. Only Hashem himself knew. What about the three Averos Chamuros? It says the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. Of course, once they didn't care enough about Torah as the values of its own, they came to the worst Averos eventually. But the Shoresh, the source, and the reason, the trigger for the worst Averos, the guy sat in Koilel, and then he went with an Eishes Ish, and then he killed, and then he murdered. Why? Because he didn't care enough about the Torah. It's not enough to learn Torah. You have to value and care a lot and cherish the Torah that you have. That's the name of the game. That's what it says here. Otherwise, it causes destruction. That's the idea. And believe me, I could speak now for another hour, but I'm having mercy on you. We can continue. Question, yeah. Omar Rav Chama, another famous one. Omar Rav Chama, my dichtiv, we're in pay, where are we now? Pay Hey Amud Beis Vov Metzia, about the fifth line from the top of the page. Omar Rav Chama, says Rav Chama, my dichtiv, what does it mean when it says, Belev Novo in Tanuach Chochma, in the heart of the wise man, the wisdom shall rest, Bekerev Ksilim Tivodea, amongst the fools he will be known. He will be Tivodea, will be celebrated, will be known. What does it mean? Belev Novo in Tanuach Chochma, in the heart of the wise man, Chochma will rest. Zeh Talmid Chacham ben Talmid Chacham. A Talmid Chacham, son of a Talmid Chacham, he's surrounded by other Talmid Chachamim, right? And therefore, his Torah, he doesn't have to talk a lot about his Torah, because all his family, they're all Talmid Chachamim. So if he shares the Dvar Torah for the rest of the family, it's not such a big chiddush. So he keeps his Torah to himself, and the Torah is natural. He doesn't have to show off. That's the point. However, Bekerev Ksilim Tivodea, the full one, Tivodea makes sure you know his Torah. He wants to make sure that you know that he knows everything. A Talmid Chacham ben Amaoretz. A Talmid Chacham, son of an Amaoretz, could be a very great man, otherwise. But if a Talmud Chacham is surrounded by family members or Amei Arotzos, and he tells you one Dvar Torah, and everyone's like, wow, because they're all Emiratim. For them, the fact he knows how to read Hebrew, like Reform rabbis, just because he knows how to read Hebrew, the only one in the whole community, well, it's a big thing, yeah? In other words, that's like, he's too loud about it, and he lets everybody knows about it because everybody else around him are even emptier than him, yeah? Omar Ula says, Ula, Hainu Damri Inshi. This relates to a fable, a saying that people tend to say. Ister belagina, istera is a coin in the lagina, a coin in the bottle, like in a glass bottle or a metal bottle. Kish karya. Yeah, ister belagina likes to rattle, kish, like to rattle. In other words, the fact that everybody else around him is empty, right? He's the only coin, like they said, the only sharp pencil in the case. He's the only coin in that empty place. So yeah, if you have a bottle full of coins, you don't hear the coins. But if there's one coin, if you keep and you move the bottle, you keep hearing the rattle. So too, that Ma'oretz, which keeps advertising and making his chokhmah so famous, that's like that one coin. That's one pshat. The pshat in Rashi, and this, remember, my mother used to tell me as a child, and this is like Rashi in the Mishlei. The pasuk in Mishlei means something else. A person who has a lot of knowledge is more secure, more sure of himself. He doesn't have to advertise it. If you yourself are full of wisdom, yeah, not full of yourself, but full of wisdom, it's like you have many coins. Yeah, you have these glass bottles full of old coins. Yeah, you don't hear them. It's all full. But if all you have is a little bit of Torah, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 coins. The guy has no knowledge of Torah. He knows how to quote some, choice statements from here and there, and he keeps saying them all the time, again and again. That's like an empty bottle that has a little bit of coins, and you keep hearing it all the time. The person is so insecure, he has to show everybody how he knows so much, right? Really doesn't know that much. That's the idea. Amar le Rabbi Yirmiyah le Rav Zera. Rabbi Yirmiyah asked Rav Zera the following: My dichtiv, what does it mean when it says, and that posuk is from Eov, Job, and Eov, the friends told him about Olam Haba. One of the places the Tanakh alludes to Olam Haba. What does it say about Olam Haba? Koton v'godol shamu. There, over there in Olam Haba, in the afterlife, you have the koton and the godol, the small men and the big men, the humble, whatever big and small mean, yeah. The eved chofshim adonov. Over there, the slave is free from his master. There's no slavery in Olam Haba. It's like the northern states, not the southern states. Yeah, in Olam Haba, there's no slavery. Yeah, everyone's connected to Hashem, hopefully. Frag the Gemara, what's the chiddush? What an inane description of Olam Haba, l'choiro. Atu, at the end of the day, lo yodina dekoten v'godol shamu. Don't we know that in Olam Haba, whatever it means, good or bad, don't we know that there's greater people and smaller people, tall, short, whatever you mean? Everyone goes there. Whatever Olam Haba means, I'm not going into levels of Gan Eden. Everybody goes somewhere after the death, big or small. What's the chiddush? Ela, what does it mean? Kol hamaktin atzmo yal divrei Torah ba'olam hazeh. A person who makes himself small in Olam Hazeh vis-a-vis Divrei Torah, soon we'll see what it means. Nasa Godel Olam Haba explains the Maharsha. A person who's great, like David HaMelech, for example. He was a great man, he was a Melech, and yet he would listen to younger Talmidei Chachomim. That's a big thing. A person with frock in Hamburg, a person 70 years old goes to a shiur of a 30 years old. You see that nowadays sometimes. That's very nice. It's very good. It's real humility, real anova. Yeah, he's a big Rosh Hashiva. He goes to listen to the young Avrech because he knows that the young Avrech in certain areas knows more than him. Such a person will be great in Olam Haba. He makes himself small, then he'll be great. And by the way, it says about David HaMelech, the Gemara you quoted, Lo Sid Lavoi, David HaMelech will be the only one, will be a Godol, will be the one to make the Birkas Hamazon. In the Suda Shel Mashiach, there's a whole story there in Psachim. One reason is because David is the one who made himself small. He was an Onov. And he would listen to the Torah of younger people. I know there's much more, but I'm saying that's the point here. Now, another point. What about the Eved business? Whoever makes himself an Eved, subjugates himself, enslaves himself for Torah in Olam Hazeh, Imamish makes Torah his master, he's Meshubad. Oh, you speak to Bnei Torah, they say, I have Shiabudim. What's Shiabudim? He has Shiabudim. 4 o'clock, he has to learn Musar. 5 o'clock, he has to go to Seder. If you enslave yourself to turn Olam Hazeh, for the world of eternity, the Olam Haba will be chofshi every day, 9:25 on the dot. Amud Yomi. Yeah, come what may, you're always here and you enslave yourself to the system, to the Torah, then you become free in Olam Haba. Of course, any other shiurim. And that, by the way, alludes to Moshe Rabbeinu, says the Maharsha. Because Moshe Rabbeinu really was an Eved, he was an Eved to the Torah. He was the one who was the most, bottle and honor towards Torah, and he became Chav Shel Olam Haba. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Another story, the first wide line. Yeah, questions? Very nice. I'll say that now. Yeah, Ellen is pointing out, very nice, that David HaMelech called the Achitophel, which eventually became a traitor. Achitophel was Biklam Mitchacham, although a very corrupt person. And David learned one Tvar Torah from Achitophel and called him my rabbi, my master, my knowledgeable one. Very good. Reish Lakish, story time, first wide line. Bava Metzia Pei Amud Beis. Reish Lakish have a mitzayin me'alta de Rabbanon. Reish Lakish took upon himself to search for different kivrei tzaddikim, not in order to take American tourists to the kivrei tzaddikim. He wanted to find out where tzaddikim are buried, in order that those tzaddikim, they didn't know where they were buried. They didn't know the burial place of the Tanoim A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z. Reish Lakish would have gone and be mitzayin, would mark, do some investigation, one way or the other, find out that this spot is the kever of Tana X, whoever Ploini, in order that the Kohanim walk around should not be nichshal. The Kohanim should not, stumble spiritually, have the avera of what? Of walking over a kever, mile on the kever. Why are you making faces? So then, no, Talmid Chachamim, of course, are Matam. Anyway, why only Talmid Chachamim? Because he wanted the Talmid Chachamim not to cause others to sin. Even after their death, the Talmid Chachamim, more than any other people, what a busha for, let's say, Rab Shimon Bar Yochai, for example, what comes to mind, if Kohanim walk around there, and Rab Shimon Bar Yochai, after his death, Kitrug, he is the one who unknowingly causing the Kohanim, or not causing, I'm saying, part and parcel of, collaborates, so to speak, passively, when Kohanim pass over his kever and they become Tomim. Oh, Kimatel Me'ati de Rabbi. He wanted to find out the cave, the burial cave of Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Chia is going to be the star of the show today. Yeah, it was Rabbi Shimon Lozo, Rabbi, now it's Rabbi Chia. He's the star of the show today till the end of this year. Yeah, he came to find out the cave of Rabbi Chia. It disappeared from him, not in a miraculous way. He just couldn't find out where it was. However, he found out other people is another question. It's a Gemara in Shabbos. Lamaisa, he just couldn't figure it out. I don't know. He asked people. He threw the tour Muslim. Whatever he did, he couldn't find out where Rabbi Chia is buried. Yeah, went online. He just couldn't find out where Rabbi Chia is buried. Yeah, Polish Daite. He felt very bad. He felt, Agmas Nefesh. What's going on? Why can't I find out where Rabbi Chia is? Remember, there is something a little bit superior, a tiny bit of Reish Lakish, making sure that the other people don't cause somebody else to sin, right? In other words, Reish Lakish is doing something very, very good here, but it's being a bit of a mashgiach, right? He's making sure that they shouldn't cause michshol, right? Yeah, like vad tznius, like vad atayra, which is a very good thing. But Omar, Reish Lakish is now davening to Hashem. Ribono shel olam. He's talking to Hashem. Lo pilpalti Torah kamoisai. Wasn't I? How do you say pilpul in English? Didn't I delve? How do they say pilpul? What? Deliberated. Okay, fine. Yeah, that's the best we can get. The Kitzer, wasn't I mefalpel? That's mefalpel like this. Wasn't I mefalpel in Torah as much as he did? Am I inferior to him that I cannot help him get better after his death? Am I not worth it? Am I more inferior to him that I cannot help him? Yotz the baskol ve'omer. Wow, it's a baskol. It's Hashem talking. A heavenly voice came and told him, Torah kamoisai pilpalta. Your level of learning is the same. The pilpul, the iyun, you learned Reb Chaim Brisker, Rabbi Akiva Eiger, Ktsois Nesiva, same thing. Very good. Torah kamoisai lo ribatzta. He did not begin to teach Torah like him. Ebatz doesn't mean to hit, like they sometimes did in Chadorim. Ebatz means to irrigate. You did not water the children with Torah, Marbitz Torah, like he did. And here comes another very famous Gemara. Ki havu minzu Rabbi Chanina v'Rabbi Chia. If Rabbi Chanina and Rabbi Chia would have had an argument, sometimes, Tanoim, Rabbi Chanina, Rabbi Chia, yeah, they would argue. Amar le Rabbi Chanina le Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Chanina would tell Rabbi Chia, excuse me, let's stop. Hey, cut. Daddy Didi Kaminsit, are you fighting with me? I'm sorry to tell you, are you fighting with me? Chas, you know who I am. Realize what my darga is. Chas v'shalom. If, let's say, in theory, the Torah would be forgotten from Israel. Let's say the government would really manage to close all the yeshivas, all the chadarim, everyone forgets about Torah, chas v'shalom. Mehadarna lo mipilpuli, from my own pilpul, from my own deep svaras and delving in pilpul, I would be able to bring back Torah. In other words, I would be able to logically, sort of retrace and rebuild the Torah just from my own Havana, even if nobody else would forget, even if the data would be forgotten from the system, I'd be able to recuperate it just from my own machshava. Rabbi Chia retorted big time back to Rabbi Chanina. Are you fighting with me? You're talking to me about forgetting Torah, not forgetting Torah? In theory, would be, could be. The Avdil Torah de lo tishtakach miYisrael. I'm the one, says the Maharsha, I'm the one who practically makes sure that this will not happen. You're saying even if all the children, all the Baruchim, they forget the Torah, I'll be able to bring it back. I'm the one who's actually making sure, but lemaisa, practically, pragmatically, that this should not happen. Lo tishtakach Torah miYisrael. I make sure, constructively speaking, now would be the Torah really will not be forgotten from Klal Yisrael. Mayavid, and Maharsha says that was his Maila. The Maila of Rabbi Chia was, he wasn't saying, if they forget it, then what? If the bridge falls, then we'll create that. Rabbi Chia actually took matters into his hands, and Rabbi Chia created an unbelievably good Heder system. Look what he did. Azilna, what do I do? I'll tell you what I do. Azilna, I go. B'shadina kitna, I actually sow seeds of cotton. The gadilna, either cotton or flax. I mamish start growing flax or cotton or both, in my own garden. Why would we do that? Nishbi v'gadilna nishbi, and then I create from those flax threads, I create nishbi that are actually nets to catch an animal, V'tzayad natavi, and I hunt deer, umachilna b'sarai l'yatmi, the flesh, the meat of the deer, I feed the Yisoimim, v'arichna megilta, and I smoothen the skin of the deer, and I create a Megillah. I actually, create parchment, with that. V'katavna chamisha chumshi, and I write chamisha chumshi Torah, a sefer Torah on the deer skin. V'salikna lemata, I go to town where children don't have education, to a town where ein malam de tinokus. By that time already there was a cheder system by Rabbi Shua ben Gamla, but still, I guess they somehow flunked because Rabbi Chia was at the end of the Tanoim. You know that, Somehow the system failed, unlike today, and some places didn't have good chadorim, and it would go to those places, to underprivileged places. Umakrina chamisha yunuki, I would teach 5 children bechamisha chumshi. Now it sounds like, and Rashi says each child would master one sefer. Binyamin would be the master; he would know very well Bereshis. Reuven, whatever. Shimon would learn Shmois. Victor would learn Vayikra. Baruch would learn Bamidbar. David Dvorim. Each one was a spetz, as we say. He was the star in one chumash. Would be a baki, would be an expert in one chumash. Umasnisa Shita Yunuki and other 6 children, I would teach Shisa Sidri. In other words, the 6 Dorim, Dorim, Noshim, Nezikin, Kochim, Tyrus, each one of the Shisha Sidra Mishnah, I would teach it to one child. There was no Gemara then, just to remind you. There was Chumash and there was Mishnah. The Amanelu, and I told them, I would tell the kids, I'm going out of class now. I'm going maybe to another city. I'm going for a long time. Until I go and I come back, Akru Adodi, Ve'atnu Adodi. Each expert in Bereshis, which is one child, should teach it to all the others. And each Atnu Adodi, each Mumche in Seder Mishnah, the Mumche of Kodshim, Kalman, the Kodshim expert, should teach it to all the other children. This is how we make sure the Torah will not be forgotten from Israel. Says the Maharsha, We learn from this story two things. Soon I'm going to stand on my soapbox, so enjoy it while it lasts, while I'm not. The Maharsha says two things. First of all, you see how he planted everything right from the start. You know, the Sefer Torah would start where? Not by writing the Sefer Torah with the most Mehudardik Sofer, which was Rabbi himself. He would actually make sure what? To hunt the deer, yeah, whose skin he would use for that. And how would he hunt the deer? With nets, and those nets would be plowed, would be planted and sowed. Why? He wanted everything to be L'Shem Shamayim. You want to be successful with Chinuch L'Shem Shamayim. Because if he would buy, let's say, the nets from a merchant, from the nets.co.il, yeah, that would not be L'Shem Shamayim. Because the one who sells him the nets does it, why? Because he wants money. Kesef and Geld, all three things, yeah? It's so and so and so forth. In other words, the idea was you want to be Matzliach in Chinuch L'Shem Shamayim. Don't teach a child Torah so he should be the next Rosh Hashiva and you're going to have Gaiva. Teach a child Torah because that's what he has to get and that's what you have to do. L'Shem Shamayim. Secondly, that's by the way, Acher, the most famous off the derech guy. Why? He was such a promising Talmud Chacham. Was it Talmud Chacham? Why did he go off the derech? Well, many reasons. One reason was, yeah, because at his bris, his father said, "Oh, I want my son to be Talmud Chacham and have fire around him like the other Talmud Chachamim." Understood that had fire around him. I want the drama. I want that little baby to have be a Rosh Hashiva. That's not the right motive. Yeah, that's the idea. Secondly, what do we see from here? Very, very nice. How did he make sure the Torah should not be forgotten? And why is that stressed so much? He opened the cheder. No, the idea was that he taught the children to be teachers. So he created a situation in which each student is also a teacher. So he created a sense of responsibility within them. They know I learn and I have to teach the other children. Eventually, I'll be a rabbi myself. So the chain of learning and teaching onwards doesn't stop. That's the idea. That's the beauty of the Maisim of Rabbi Chia. Hainu Doma Rebbe, and this on that Rebbe said, Rabbi Nossi, Rabbi HaKadosh, on that Rebbe said, Kamagdoili Maisechia, how great are Maisechia? The deeds of Chia are great, and in a sense, as we'll see, greater than almost anybody else. Omer Rabbi Shmuel, according to some, there's a different girsa here that his son was talking here. Omer Le, either Rabbi Shmuel Bar Yossi or somebody else, Afilu Mimar, even greater than you? Was Rabbi Chia greater than Rebbe himself? Omer Le'in, yes, he was greater than me. Afilu me'aba. Now, according to some, now Rabbi Shmuel Bar Yossi is asking, was he greater than my father? Rabbi Shmuel Bar Yossi says, this Rabbi Chia, wow, I didn't know about the whole Rabbi Chia business. I'm so astounded. Yeah, was he really greater than even my own father? Omer Le chas v'sholem. No. Lo tehek kazos b'Yisrael. Never talk like that. Yeah. In other words, you should not say that anybody was greater than your father. Rabbi Yossi, he was greater than Rabbi Chia. Other than that, Rabbi Chia was greater than anybody else. If I'm not mistaken, it says that Rabbi Yossi against other Tanoim, Rabbi Yossi is the right one. I think it's in Eruvin Memvov, if I'm not mistaken. Omar Rabbi Zera. Now comes Rabbi Zera, and we're going to see more about Rabbi Chia, more about this great person. Omar Rabbi Zera. Emesh, last night, Nirali Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina. Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina, who was already in a better world, was shown to me. In other words, it came to me in a dream. Amarti lo, I asked him, Etzel mi ata takua. Takua doesn't mean stuck here. Means, where are you located? Because we said recently, and we saw many times, Olam Haba is not one place. Yeah? It's not, just one level. There are many, many different levels. Ever been to an airport? In some fancy airports? I haven't been to, but there are like 4 levels of lounges. Besides the posh, yeah. They're like every lounge in England, every lounge so in an airport is fancier than the other. Yeah. So then Havdil Olam Haba is like that. It's all fancy and nice spiritually, but each tzaddik has his own level. Each one more 5 stars, emerald, special. Who are you with? Who are you stuck with? In other words, who are you placed? Where are you placed in Olam Haba? Omer Li Etzel Rabbi Yochanan. I think etzel here means just underneath or being taught by Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan etzel me. Who is Rabbi Yochanan? Under who is he? It's Rabbi Yana. Rabbi Yochanan is under Rabbi Yana. It's also generational. Rabbi Yochanan is later. Yeah. Rabbi Yana etzel me. Who is Rabbi Yana by? Which means under who is he? Which lounge? Etzel Rabbi Chanina. He's studying Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Chanina etzel me. Who is higher than Rabbi Chanina? Higher and higher. Etzel Rabbi Chia. Wow. Rabbi Chia so far is a top man in the top, lounge in Olam Haba. That's a nice place to be. Amarti lo, I asked him, wait a minute, Rabbi Yochanan to Rabbi Chia. Yeah, in other words, why can't Rabbi Yochanan jump a few dargas and be a Rabbi Chia? Rabbi Yochanan was the author of Talmud Yerushalmi. Rabbi Yochanan was a very, very major Amoira, almost Tatana. Yeah, so why isn't he by Rabbi Chia? Amar Li, I'll tell you, I don't know. He cannot be by Rabbi Chia. He's not, in his darga, not big enough to be a Rabbi Chia. Why? He says, Be'atad is cooking the nura, in a place where you have fireworks, you have, flashes, real fire, ube'oyer the isha, and the fire is burning, man me'ayil bar nafcha letamon, would a blacksmith go over there? Would you allow the blacksmith to go to the place of fireworks and, sparks and glory? What does it mean? So Bepashtus, it means Rabbi Yochanan is just on a lower level. The Maharsha explains again something very nice. He says like this: the Bar Napcha, we saw sometimes, we saw it in Shabbos and Bava Kama, the Napach, the blacksmith, what does he do? He creates a lot of what? Sparks. When he hits the metal, it creates sparks. Very nice. But he's the one who starts creating the sparks, not big fire, hopefully, right? He's creating the sparks. Oh, why should I bring the Napach, the one who creates the sparks, to a place where the sparks are already flying all over? Yeah, I don't need to bring my little, every once in a while the area has fancy fireworks. They don't need my little fire if they already have big fireworks. Oh, what's the idea? Very nice. The one who is already holding by the maskana, the one who already brought everything into practice and not into potential, but into the world of reality, is who? Is Rabbi Chia. The fact Rabbi Chia didn't say, if Torah would be forgotten, I'm creating a situation to, if that would happen, then I'll do this. He avoided that to happen to begin with. He went practice. He said, we have to teach our children, so Torah should not be forgotten. So because he took hands into matter in a practical way, he's a place where fireworks are already at work. So I don't need somebody who creates the firework in the place where I have them, right? I don't need to bring a water carrier to my house in 2023 when I have running water in my house, right? Yeah, I already have that there. We're there already. And that's the maila of Reb Chia, and he doesn't need to have anybody else around him. It's not as, in the practical level like him. Amar Reb Chaviva. Now another story about Reb Chia and his high level. Amar Reb Chaviva. Reb Chaviva said, Ishta ili Reb Chaviva bar Surmiki. Don't get confused. There are two Reb Chavivas. Reb Chaviva regular said, Ishta ili, he told me. Who told him? Reb Chaviva bar Surmiki, another Reb Chaviva, the son of Surmiki, told me the following. From now on, it's verbatim. From now on, it's a quote verbatim of what Reb Chaviva bar Surmiki told the Reb Chaviva. Chazi li, yeah, ha'umer rabbanon. I once went to someone, a Talmud Chacham, to have a shchiach Eliyahu Gabei. I knew that Talmud Chacham, Eliyahu HaNavi, is a frequent visitor by him. Okay, very nice. And I saw that Talmud Chacham, Eliyahu HaNavi's friend, Eliyahu HaNavi's buddy, so to speak, the Letzaf Rahavu Shapiran Eine. In the morning, his eyes looked nice and healthy. Ule'urta, by night, Damian Kedemiklin Benura. They looked as if they were burnt. As in not completely burnt, even as if they were like scorched. The eyes looked like, already kind of burnt, yeah? Now, you would say they had a hard day at work. No, that's not the story. Amrile, my high. What's going on? Why? What happened to your eyes all of a sudden? Your eyes look like they're burnt. Gomerli, and he told him, the Amri Le Leo, I asked Eliyahu HaNavi, who I'm in good touch with, that protects Eliyahu HaNavi, Leo, can you do me a favor? Achvili Rabbanon Kisalki Lemesivta Derkia. I want to go upstairs, have a peek, and show me Rabbanon when they go up to Mesivta Derekia. Yeah, when the Rabbanon go, I don't know if it means the moment of death or later. I want to see the neshamas of the tzaddikim as they go up, the journey. When they go up, what's Mesivta Derekia, to the yeshiva, where they learn Torah. What are they doing Gan Eden all day long? No computer games, no internet science, no, just Torah. Only Torah. Mesivta Derekia. I want to see how they go up there. Omar Lisa told me, listen, there are limitations, Shemaim, we have our rules. You can look at all of them, no problem. Yeah. However, there is something, for your eyes only. The platform of Reb Chia is a stage, high platform. You cannot look there. Reb Chia is on such a high level, yeah, you cannot look on his, you cannot gaze. You cannot, avert your gaze. Don't look at him or his guharka. Guharka either means like a platform or Guarka would also mean a chariot. Maybe there's like a chariot who would go up to Shemaim, like Eliyahu himself. My simanayu, well, how would I know? How would I know who's who? No, I want to know where not to look. Yeah. So he says, Bekulu azli malochi kisalki v'nachti. All the other Talmidei Chachomim, when the neshamas go up, they're escorted by malachim. They need the help of malachim. Maybe malachim are what? Mitzvahs. They need the good malachim to lead them to the high place. They have to be ushered by the malachim to go to their place. I assume he means what? The mitzvahs. They need some extra chusim, with wings and halos. Yeah, I'm not stop saying halos. Yeah, the bar miguharka de Reb Chia, the place where Reb Chia is, the minafshi salik v'nochis. Reb Chia himself is so great. He can go up and down, in and out of his place in Shemaim without minafshe by himself. He doesn't need the help of any helpers. His chus is so high for teaching the children that he can go up and down without the help of anybody else. He's like a free ranger, as a freelancer. He does what he wants in Shemaim, up and down. So if you see that kind of motion, quickly retrograde. Don't look at him. What happened? Can you be shomer einayim? Can you be shomer einayim? Loi matzi lukma nafshoi. I couldn't resist it. I couldn't overcome a yetzer to look at him. Istaklibo. I looked at the platform or the chariot at the place of Rabbi Chia, and you know what happened next? Ouch! Asu trei butiti denura. Two sparks, like strong boom. Two sparks of fire came. Umachyu lahu gavra, and they hit that man. He's talking about himself, and they hit me. V'saminu le'enei, and I was blind. At that point, I got blind completely. They blinded my eyes, kaput, yeah? Lemocher, the day after, Azli ishtatchia me'arte, the day later, I went and I basically prostrated, I davened with, like that, I prostrated on his me'ora. I guess eventually they did find out where he was buried, Reb Chia, yeah? I found out and I went to the caver where he's buried, Amina, and I told him, he didn't daven to the dead person, Khalila, but I just said, Masnisa dema masnina. You should know, I learned the brises that you wrote. Reb Chia, besides being the mechadish of that system of the cheder, also Reb Chia is the master of brises. All the Tosefta, which is the collection of brises, and all the brises we see in the Gemara, the certified brises, it says in the Gemara at the end of Chulin, any brisa that was not taught by Reb Chia and Rabbi Shia is not a serious brisa you can ask from in Bes Medrash. Yeah. Now there are some brises are brises, but the certified brises, the real hardcore, like a real PhD from real university, lahavdil, or real smicha versus Mickey Mouse smicha, lahavdil. The real brisa is only for Reb Chia. So I said, Idaven to Hashem, bizchus the fact that I learned the brises of Reb Chia, Hashem should help me, the Itzai, and I was healed, Baruch Hashem. The Tosha says his eyes were still a bit scorched from the trauma, but he could see. Doesn't take one day to heal. You see a guy after an operation looks, hazoi. But Lemaisa, he was healed. I want to add one more point. I'm on the soapbox now. Excuse me. And this is actually nothing negative. I have to say something like that. I just mentioned something which you may thought was wrong. I said that Reb Chia, he created the cheder system. Many of you would argue with me and say, Mapitam, Akiva, what are you talking about? Ages ago, we learned it, Bava Chafalef Amud Aleph, very, very famous. Even some Chiloni people know it. Who's the one who started the cheder system? Abshu ben Gamla. Abshu ben Gamla saw that there are Yesoimim who didn't have fathers to teach them. Avos Abanim was then, non-existent, or actually was in existence, but not by everybody, yeah? And then he created a very, very clear system, right? Every town would have its own cheder, and there are all kinds of rules in that Gemara. A class should only have, 20 children. If between 20 and 40, you should get an extra help. And if the child is 6, that's when you start the school system. This whole page looks like a takanon of a school, like a list of rules of how to run a good school. I think that's an idea which I wanted to share with people for a long time, so thank you for listening. No, it's very, very good. The Gemara here and the Gemara there complement each other. The Gemara over there in Bava Basra speaks about order. He speaks about the order, how should the school be run? And I wish schools would listen to that, yeah? How should the school run? Do kick out the child, don't kick out the child, misbehaves. It's a whole list of rules over there, yeah? Which rabbi should you hire? The one who's nice but makes mistakes, the one who's not nice, whatever, a whole bunch of rules. Over here, what does the Gemara talk about? The lathe. The Gemara here talks about Rabbi Chia's dedication with his own heart and soul. He dedicated everything right from the start. You need both. You need both Gemaras to have successful chinuch. You need to have a good orderly system. Yeah, you can have them in a Hellas, you can have them in Isle. They have very good hearts, they mean well. But the cheder or the seminary look like looks a complete mess. Nothing is organized. That's not good. It's not a good system for the kid to learn. You have other schools that can be very, very super organized, but unfortunately, there's no love, there's no real chinuch, no love to the children. You have to have both. If you combine the Gemara here and the Gemara there, you have the perfect chinuch. You have order, you have law, and you have a system, you have a framework, which is very well run clearly. And you have to have Rabbi Chia's heart and Rabbi Chia's dedication, lishma. You have to have the good content in the system too. If you have such a school, and there are such schools today, by the way, I'm not always complaining. There are such schools, Baruch Hashem, here in the neighborhood and other places, and we should send our children to these schools. I'll talk to you about the list of schools later. I'm joking. Later. Eliyahu, next story. Eliyahu HaNavi b'Mesivta de Rebbe. Eliyahu HaNavi was a common visitor to the yeshiva of Rebbe. Rebbe HaKodesh had a yeshiva, and one of the people, who would come there would be Eliyahu HaNavi. He would come from Shamayim to learn Torah by Rebbe. Wow. Yomi Echad, one day, Reish Yar Chahava, it was Rosh Chodesh, and soon we'll see why it was relevant that it was Rosh Chodesh. Nogalei v'loy osa. He was late. Eliyahu HaNavi came, but much later. He didn't come until much later. Omer lei, Rebbe asked Eliyahu, "My time anogalei lemar." Eliyahu, why did you come late today? Well, what's going on? Why are you late to shiur today? Why are you late to class? Omer lei, Eliyahu HaNavi is answering Rebbe. Adilkimna laAvraham. I had to wake up Avraham today because the tzaddikim b'moisam kurim chaim. Tzaddikim, the real tzaddikim, even after the death, they're as if they're still alive and only sleeping. I had to wake up Avraham Avinu in the morning. Umashina yode, I had to wash his hands, like negel vaser in the morning. Umatzli, he would daven. Avraham Avinu would daven, and then umagnina lei, then I have to put him back in bed. That's what he does. Avraham Avinu wakes up in the morning, washes his hands, davens. He's dead. No eating, no doing anything else, no hosting people. I put him back in bed, and Eliyahu HaNavi is in charge of doing that to the Avos HaKadoshim. V'chen liYitzchak, the same I did to Yitzchak. V'chen liYaakov, I had a very busy day in Maras HaMachpelah, waking up one after the other of Rome, then Yitzchak, then Yaakov. I couldn't come to shiur today. Now, the question is, why Rosh Chodesh? Why Rosh Chodesh? Says as we're going to see soon, the davening of the Avos can bring Mashiach closer. And every Rosh Chodesh, there's like a rejuvenated Klal Yisrael are compared to what? To the moon, right? When the moon starts, growing, so to speak, again, that shows we, Am Yisrael, have a chance we can bring Mashiach closer. That's why on Rosh Chodesh, the Avos are davening so Mashiach should come. Break the Gemara, hey, why can't there be a more time-efficient system? Why don't you wake up all of them together? Hey, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, everyone should wake up together. Why is he waking them up one after the other? Sadly, because he thinks, if they all daven together, all in the same time, they will really create very, very strong rachamim, mercy from Hashem. They would bring Mashiach before his time. If all of us HaKadoshim would daven together, they would bring Mashiach. That's great. No, it's great for us. But Mashiach, maybe we don't deserve Mashiach. Why is Mashiach here? Because we don't deserve it. Everyone's asking, where's Mashiach? We don't deserve it. Because the generation is not yet apt to receive Mashiach. If Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov would all daven together, Hashem will be forced by spiritual nature to bring Mashiach. And that's not what Hashem wants yet. It's not yet time. Omalei, so Rebbe is now onto something. Ooh, says Rebbe, wait a minute. Is there anybody like Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov in our world? In other words, basically, you realize what's going on here? If we get three people like Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov to daven very hard, maybe then Hashem will bring Mashiach, yes, or maybe Hashem will do other things that we want. Tefillah works so well, kivyochol against Hashem's will, kivyochol. Amar le yes, Ika, yes. Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov have their equivalents in Olam Hazeh. Rabbi Chia Ubonov, wow, again Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Chia then was still alive. Rabbi Chia and his children are tantamount to Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Very good. So Rebbe used the information wisely. Goza Rebbe Ta'aniso. Rebbe decreed the Ta'anis, a day of fast and a day of davening. Achtinu Rabbi Chia Ubonov. He made Rabbi Chia and his two children be shliach tzibur. How can three people be shliach tzibur? You may ask. So Tosa says Rabbi Chia in the center and the two children standing next to him, just like we saw by Tainis. There's such a concept. We have it where you call nidre, right? You have the two people, the Sefer Torah, next to the guy, right, to the chazan, and also, and we learn it from Moshe Rabbeinu by Melchemes Amalek. Aaron and Hur were on both sides, holding his hands, which spiritually meant like flanking him with spiritual support. So Rabbi Chia Bonov, Rabbi Chia in the center, his two children to the side, the biggest tzaddikim. This is a nowadays modern version of Rabbi Yitzchak Yaakov. Yalla, let's get going. To start the davening, Shmoneh Esrei Shliach Tzibur, Yechaz also Shatz. Omar, he started saying Mashiv Ruach, V'nosh Vazika. What he says goes. He says Mashiv Ruach, the wind started blowing. Omar Morid Geshem, he said Morid Geshem, also Mitra, the rain came straight away. There's no Chochmes by Reb Chia. It happens right away, quicker than your computer, Lahavdil. Kimata L'meimer Mechaya Mesim, that gets tricky. He said the Bracha Mechaya Mesim. Tessus points out not the Mechaya Mesim at the beginning, that you already said. Baruch Atah Hashem Mechaya Mesim, at the end of the Bracha, it's much more powerful. Rogash Alma, all the Mesim were, imagine like a movie, all the Mesim started surging and the whole world started shaking because all the dead people start, crawling up from their graves. Amri Berakia in Shamayim didn't like that. There was too much for Yeshiva Shalmal, for Pamal Shalmalia. In Shamayim, they were like, what's going on down there? Excuse me, we're system. Man Gali Razia Be'alma. Who taught, who disclosed the secret in Olam Hazeh? Who disclosed the secret of how to change the world instantly by using Rabbi Chia Bonov? Who said, who leaked it from the system, the information to Olam Hazeh? Amri, and they said, Eliyahu, he's the one who snitched, he's the one who leaked it. Eliyahu HaNavi, he's the one who said it. What's Eliyahu HaNavi? What's his job? He's an ambassador. He connects between Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba. Asyul Eliyahu, they brought Eliyahu, Machyu Shitin Pulsi Denura. They hit him with 60 lashes of fire. Why 60 lashes of fire? Says the Maharsha something beautiful. Says the Maharsha, unbelievable. Listen to this. This is very nice math. It's math. It's mathematics. So nice. How many malchus are there in Olam Hazeh? If a person does an avera which grants him malchus, how many malchus does he get? 39, unless he's unwell. Yeah, that's the next masechta. What 39 divided to 3 is 13. Meaning, a person, what's the minimum age for being responsible and receiving onish based din? Shalmata, 13. So 13 times 3 is the malchus. You have to be responsible 3 times over. In Shamayim, when does Shamayim start punishing a person for his for averas, for sins? 20. 20 times 3 is 60. That's why in Shamayim, the malchus is 60, because it's always the age of responsibility, of liability, times 3. Interesting. That's equivalent. So in Shamayim, it's not a leather lash, it's actually fire. So misken, what? 20 times 3 is 60. He says malchus are always age of responsibility times 3. Why times 3? I don't know. We see it's always divided to 3. Whatever, chazoko, he doesn't explain. But that's a logic here. 1 second. Also, so Eliyahu HaNavi had to atone for his sin. He had to now correct the, so to speak, mess he created. He went back down to earth, and in order to disturb their davening, so the davening should stop. Hashem didn't want the davening to happen. Idmi lehu, he looked to them, he seemed to them, keduba denura. He seemed to them like a bear of fire, like a fire bear. Why? Al beinayu v'tardinu. He went amongst them. He entered amongst Reb Chia's children, started walking around like a fire bear. When you daven, you don't want to see a bear of fire right next to you, kind of. Your Shmoneh Esrei would be disrupted. Never happened to me. I don't know. And that was matrid otam, that stopped them from davening. Everyone's asking, why a fire bear? That's an interesting animal. Yeah, what's some American thing? Says the Maharsha, who is actually compared to bear? The kingdom of Paros, or Persia. He wanted to show them we're still under the Persians in Golus. That Golus of that time, the Persians were in also the Romans, but the Persians were also in power. And he wanted to show that you guys want Mashiach, that's really great, but there's still a bear made out of fire, a bear representing the Golus of Paros, to show that we're still under the Parsim, who are like big bears, and they're very big and controlling, and there's nothing right now we can do against it. We can bring Mashiach, but with a lot of Maisim Tovim and davening, but such powerful instant solution kind of davening that Hashem rejected. It's a very interesting idea conceptually. It's hard to understand, but that's what it says. Another one, yeah. Shmuel Yarchino. Shmuel Yarchino basically means Shmuel, the moon person. What does that mean? Yeah. Shmuel here is a regular Shmuel, which we know from many, many, many places in Shas. Shmuel was called Shmuel, the moon expert, because Shmuel was, it says in the Gemara a few places that Shmuel had vast knowledge of astronomy. Yeah. He says he knew the Shvili de Rakia, the path of the Shemaim, like the path of his own town, Ardo. He was very knowledgeable in astronomy because of halacha. He's very learned man. He was a doctor, as we're going to see. So that Shmuel, that's famous Shmuel, Asye de Rabbi Hava. He was Rabbi's doctor. He was the one who took care of Rabbi. Okay. Cholash Rabbi be'enei. Rabbi got some eye disease, yeah, some kind of weakness in his eyes. Omerle, call the doctor. The doctor came. Dr. Shmuel comes. Im lilach sama. I'll put in your eyes some medication. Omerle loichin, I can't take the medication coming into my eyes for whichever reason. Ashtar lachmishtar, I'll put an ointment, I'll smear and dab and on top of your eye some ointment, the same idea, but in different form. I can't. Even then I cannot, for whichever reason, Rebbe couldn't take it. It was too strong. So what did Shmuel do? Something very smart, very out of the box kind of idea from a doctor to do. He took an empty, a hollow cane, yeah, like a cane, yeah, with holes in it, and inside he placed the medication, and he placed that hollow thing with holes with the medication inside, tuti beisadye, under his pillow, yeah, under the pillow, and then it penetrated through the pillow, says Rashi, and through his brains into the eyes, all the way there. The effect of, I guess, very strong medication. Maybe that's why we couldn't take it. The medication was very strong, but not too strong, like, sort of like, yeah, infiltrated from down upwards into the eyes. The itzin got better. Wow, there's like a genius thing to do. There was like a groundbreaking new kind of eye treatment all over the medical world. That's, wow, a big thing. So because of that, Rebbe said, you're such a smart man, you're Talmud Chacham, and very innovative and very, very smart. I really try hard to give you smicha, to ordain you as a rabbi, to give you smicha. He couldn't. Yeah, every time he wanted to actually make him a rov, give him the title of a rov with smicha, something happened, they didn't manage. Rashi says, Nitra for sure, something happened, or maybe there was not the assembly of Chachomim. Chachomim, yeah, you have to be masmich a person with other rabbis around. People didn't come to the assembly. Something always happened, as if Hashem does want Shmuel to be called officially a rov, a poisek halacha. Omerle, so Shmuel said, Lo litztar mal, Rebbe, don't sweat over it. It's okay. I myself saw the Sefer of Odom Arishon, and we're going to explain what the Sefer is. In the Sefer, in the book of Odom Arishon, Ksiv Bey, yeah, it says, but there is this, I'll tell you now. There's a Sefer, Gemara in the Vodazor Daf Hey says that Hashem showed Odom Arishon, every generation, who will be the leaders, who will be the Soifrim, who will be the Rabbanim. He gave, yeah, Odom Arishon had like a book, a Sefer, with a list of the top people, top Jewish leaders, real top Jewish leaders of every generation. Okay, and what does it say in that Sefer about Shmuel? It says in that Sefer that predestined everybody in the world. Shmuel Yerchino, Shmuel, the moon person, Chakim Yiskeri, he'll be called a wise man. The Rebbe Lo Yitkeri, he will never be called Rebbe. He will not be called Rebbe. He will not have the title of a Rav. That's why Shmuel is not called Rav Shmuel, it's called Shmuel. The Asad Rebbe al Yodoti, but the refuah, the education, the healing of Rebbe getting better, he's in charge of that, and that's big enough. The Malsho explains, as we all know, when is Shmuel always right? But Dinim Ominous. Oh, Dinim Ominous, he was right. He was a Dayan and he was a Rosh Hashiva. However, to be a Rav Poisek Halacha in Yoredea, for Nida, for chicken, for treif, for shchita, for that, of course, he was very knowledgeable, but that wasn't his field of expertise. That's why he wasn't a Rav. He wasn't a Rav like a Rav Poisek. He was a Dayan in Dinim Ominous. That was his, strong point. And that was Shmuel. And tomorrow, Amir Hashem, back to Rebbe. Fascinating story. Still a few days of Agadita. And thank you very much. It's Rabba to all of you. Stay with us. Review the Shiur, YouTube, Torah Anytime, everything else, and may the Torah always be the main part of our lives. Thank you very much. It's